You like points? The CFL's got points for you. We'll talk about it. Week 15 in the CFL coming up next on the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. Hello and welcome to the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast, a Shotgun Sports Network production. My name's Oz Davis. I'm the co-host of the show. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, Joe Pritchard. Joe, how is it going this week?
I don't know why we're still doing this. The season's over, right?
Well, for some of us more than others. In fact, some of us out there have new life or continued life, it feels like.
Oh, right. You guys have a quarterback again.
Wow. Okay. We'll talk about that later. I threatened to talk about that before the show, but we'll talk about that a bit later on. I introed the show by talking about the barrage of points. And I don't want to say that the CFL is better than the NFL, but I do note that in week one of the NFL season, just 2 games went over on the over-under. And of course, nobody likes to bet the under, right? So this week in the CFL, lots of points scored. Only 2 teams scored fewer than 28 points. And only 1 team scored fewer than 27 points.
Yeah, brother, why don't you?
The average score of games was 39-28. We had at least one that went down to the wire. The East went 3-1. And would you believe it? The Toronto Argonauts lucked out again. What is it with this team? The fans, they may not have many fans, but God loves the Toronto Argonauts.
They seem to, and they're in a prime position to squeak into the playoffs again and make a mess. So,
well, there's still a game back of BC and Winnipeg at this point, right? So there's still a full game back of those 2 teams. And BC keeps getting handed these, let's say, not too pressing secondaries. Actually, maybe we can get into the schedule at the end of the podcast, although I'm curious to see what BC has coming down the stretch. And I'm sure you are too, as a Winnipeg fan.
oh, well, you give us far too much credit. I mean, until we either get Zach back or find out that he's not coming back, at this point, we're just marking time.
Get Zach back. I was thinking in preparing for the show that shut him down. I mean, do you
post? But at the same time, until we know for sure, it's like, okay, we might still have a shot, but we won't if he doesn't come back.
Right.
And like now we're just kind of just playing the waiting game, right?
Right. But I mean, again, this was just another game for the 2025 Winnipeg Blue Bombers, right? I mean, I felt like, again, if you needed any confirmation that the Bombers are suffering the proverbial year from hell, this is it. This is it, right?
Yep, because if you remember, and if you've been listening to this podcast, you remember, because I go over this almost every week, the way the Bombers won in the past was not make mistakes, score some points early on, and then just kind of hang on and make the other team make the critical mistake. Well, this year, guess who's? I think they're either 8th or 9th in turnover margin, which is the exact opposite of how they need to be to win games. Yep. And if you remember last year, I was talking about how their margin was starting to get razor thin. Well, they crashed through that quite really, at least pretty much the whole year. Like, they still have a lot of talent on the team. Some of it's aging. Some of it's not going to get any better than it is now. But really, it's just the thin line between making the big play and not making the big play is making itself apparent. Basically, we're suffering some regression to the mean for the nerds out there.
Mm.
Because it was like 3 or 4 years straight where all the big plays and all the big turnovers were going our way, and this
Right,
year the opposite. So
right, right, right. Yeah, a couple of years they must have had a pretty good Pythagorean number. I mean, you can't really do it for the COVID year, but they had some bounces go their way, including the shortened schedule, by the way. Although I remember they didn't draw the worst team in the league that year at all, Ottawa, in the 2022 season. They only played that, what, 13 games that year?
21, it was 14, I want to say.
14.
Yeah.
14 games. Yeah, and your boys, Winnipeg, were awesome on your cruise to the grave. Very nicely done by them. But you can't really do Pythagorean, but it gets that small. But I'm sure their number that season was pretty big too. They seemed to get the bounces that year. I like and I still remember the wind-blocked punt on Montreal.
Yes, that was that was
That
the
game
that was the
last year.
difference between hosting the West Final and hosting the West Semi. So
Right. Right. Exactly. Exactly. I took it then as proof that God was a Riders fan, but I think was a Riders hater. But I think that's not being borne out this year. Yeah, I was thinking about this. They said this during the TSN telecast that Winnipeg was now number 8 in turnover differential. BC, of course, is still number 9. They've been number 9 all season. They might not be after these 2 games, but number 9 all season. And it's a testament to the talent on these 2 teams that they're able to turn it over so much and give up so many points on
and are
BC's
still sitting in playoff
right,
positions.
and are going to make the playoffs. And the team in the West, for reasons that I will discuss later, that finishes 3rd is going to be dangerous. I would not bet against that team. I would not, whoever it is. But let's get into the specifics. Okay, so we started with Winnipeg. And I don't know, for me, it wasn't so much that they weren't able to take advantage of the Hamilton mistakes.
It was Winnipeg making the critical mistakes.
Right,
though, right?
Right. And it came down to the one play. That one play with less than a minute left when Streveler throws the pick. The end of the second quarter. He had come in a couple of series before that. With one play, he basically turned a 13-10 Hamilton lead, reasonable, into 23-10 after the first drive of the second half. So it was like, and that was it. I mean, look, the Bombers scored 21 points in the whole game. And that was 23 after that. So
right, and they only scored the last touchdown with Hamilton playing back and just begging them to move down the field slowly, which is what you do in garbage time, right?
Made fantasy players happy.
Unless you had Hamilton's defense. Didn't end up hurting me. I won by like 30. So
whose defense scored anything this week?
Yeah, right.
All the defenses got 1 point. No, maybe. I don't know. I don't even recall that there were any pick sixes or any fumble sixes. There was one called back, but I don't.
Yeah, Hamilton almost had one very early in the game.
Right. We did have an offensive lineman scoring a touchdown though on a fumble recovery. It was pretty interesting because Brady Oliveira, dominated. The final stats say 15 carries on 116 yards and another 35 receiving. But the thing is, and I find myself, how old am I? How long have I been watching football? And yet still at some point, why don't they just run it every time? Well, unfortunately, with Streveler in there at quarterback, they did. And you understand why they don't run it every time, because even if it is Oliveira, he's still going to get stuffed.
Yeah, you make one mistake on trying to do a running drive and you're punting. So
right.
One play
Exactly.
that doesn't go 6, and all of a sudden,
Uh-huh.
oh, we're done. Let's go.
Uh-huh. That's why they call it 2 and out. All right. Um, I thought Greg Bell had a pretty nice game. I mean, there's not much you could say about the Ticats. I'm sick of praising them. I mean, Bo was excellent as he has been all year. 21 and
Yeah,
28. Was it 21 and 28? 230, 2 touchdowns, 0 picks. I
right.
mean, what do you want?
And they played. They didn't go for the big thing. They didn't have to.
Mhm. Oh no. Well, Greg Bell.
Right.
Greg
They
Bell was
played a
just
smart
killing
game.
you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was just killing you guys. It's just like really taking advantage of the run defense there, 137 yards on 22 carries. But you see, this is what happens when your defense doesn't get off the field.
Mhm.
This is what's been killing my Owls lately. This. All right. So then we went
Because
on.
teams don't have to play for the big play against the Bombers anymore, because they know that if they just grind it out
Yeah.
and kick a field goal here and there, have a nice long touchdown drive here and there, the Winnipeg offense isn't going to catch up anymore.
Okay. Put simply, how much of this is a function of no Adam Bighill and really no presence in the middle?
There's
Well, really
something to
been
be
lacking
said
this
for
season.
that, because Big Hill's smarts was good for a play or two a game.
Mm-hmm.
You could that wouldn't have gotten done without him.
Without him, and it's
But
not getting done.
right,
Right.
unfortunately, the physical part of that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't coming along anymore. It's just
Mm-hmm.
what happens when you get to be mid-30s as a middle
Yeah.
linebacker.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just what happens. You go from a guy that is a veteran, savvy player with just enough juice to make that play,
Mm-hmm.
to a kid that's a little bit younger, has the athletic juice, but might not have the experience to know where to be, even when the play call says you're supposed to be at point A and you need to be at point B to make the play, right? The
Mm-hmm.
instincts aren't quite there. Like, and Adam Big Hill was a very instinctual. He was one of one in the league when he was playing the way he could, right?
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he's still got that veteran savvy. He in Calgary. I hope he can make a play or two for them that they wouldn't have gotten otherwise. Because I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
like the guy. I'm rooting for him, but
Mm-hmm.
there's a reason Winnipeg moved on too, right?
Yeah. 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 At some point. Yeah. Yeah. You must. Um, Unfortunately, they should have done this. This is what they should have done. Just hold them until the playoffs. Oh, you're coming out of retirement in October?
I mean,
Jolly
really,
good.
really, the biggest problem I see with the Winnipeg defense, I don't have a problem with their defensive back play.
Right.
They are doing what they're asked to. The linebackers are doing what they're asked to, not more, but just what they're asked to. It's just the defensive line isn't getting pressure anymore. It's just not there.
Well, okay, is 13 interceptions plus Strevelers a lot?
Yes,
Because they're not fumbling often. Okay,
right.
so that is a lot. Okay, okay.
The Winnipeg offense is making mistakes that they didn't used to make, and the defense isn't forcing the mistakes they used to force, right?
Yes, yes.
That's a
Yeah, they're not
double-edged
getting enough turnovers.
right.
I mean, maybe they need an inordinate amount. Again, when your defense is trying to play offense, you might not be able to meet the demand,
Right.
so to
Those
speak.
two things were going Winnipeg's way for the last 4 years.
Mhm,
They're not this year, and you can
mhm.
see the result.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, sorry, but yeah, you're gonna have to do this. What, 7, 8 more times?
Probably.
Oh, by the way, happy 300. This is the
Yay!
300th. Yeah, this is how much we love these round numbers here at the Rouge, White, and Blue. I
I
think
want
it's
to say
more.
like the first 100, I was doing things like this. I just haven't been used to having to talk about why Winnipeg isn't as good as it used to be. This is a new concept to me over the past few years, right? It's
Uh-huh.
been what since 2015 was their last losing season, so I'm out of practice. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, meanwhile, I actually had a couple of good years there where I knew my quarterback was going to be every game, and I was okay with that. I was okay with that choice. But this year, not the case. Um, Anyway, second game of the weekend was BC Lions 38, Ottawa Red Blacks 27. And this game kind of answered the metaphysical question, how can a 65-point game be boring? And the reason why I say it's boring is not because these teams aren't capable of exciting big plays. I mean, Nathan Rourke can still throw the ball a mile, even if he doesn't throw it 90% like he used to. Is he already the number one Canadian in terms of what I want to say yardage? Is he already number one or touchdown passes?
God, no.
They
Not
had
yet.
some stat. I forget what it was about among Canadian quarterbacks. In any case, I wish I would have remembered it. In any case, the problem is that you know how these Red Blacks games are going to go. You know, again, like what is the score? 14-3. 14-3 after the first quarter. Again. And 20-13 at half. I mean, you know they're not going to win. You know, they came back and won last week. Now, the mind-blowing stat here is that, okay, so since week 10, since the week 10 win against Ottawa, which is basically when Ottawa rebounded, since then they've been excellent. Since then, Ottawa has had a lead for exactly 17 seconds. And they're 1-3 in 4 games in the last 5 weeks.
Yeah, that was a well-timed 17 seconds.
Well, it was the same 17 seconds that Toronto's been enjoying this past couple of weeks, basically. Right. So they nailed it last week. They won the game against BC. They weren't going to do it back to back. I foolishly thought maybe they kept it close, but you can just throw that bet away. You know, again, after the first quarter in this case, but even maybe 3 quarters through the first quarter. I mean, Jesus, this Red Blacks team. How does this happen? They can obviously play ball. Why do they dig this hole in the first quarter every time? I mean, 3 points. Again, this is the most they've scored since week 6 in the first quarter.
Because they've settled on Dustin Crum as their backup.
Well,
and Dustin Crum is limited. He's like he's Ottawa's Streveler. He does some things well and some things not well. And the things he does well help move the sticks, but don't move the ball down the field very fast, right?
Yeah.
Like he went 30 of 35 for 307. And that's like 10 yards of completion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they ran the ball. He ran the ball as many times as the rest of his team did combined, right?
Right.
So like they were playing the short passing game the whole game. And against BC's defense, who likes to play deep.
And get burned.
You would think that they would have moved the ball faster that way, but BC rallied up. They took care of business on those short passes all game long.
Yeah, they weren't giving up the yards after carry, and they weren't yards after catch, and they weren't giving up the Dustin Crum yards either this week. So they learned from last week. I mean, give them credit. They studied the tape
with the running, but not game breaking. And I mean, when you have William Stanback and give him the ball twice, I mean, why do you even have him anymore?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, but again, I mean, again, it's not surprising. The easiest bet out there is any game involving BC, Ottawa, and usually Toronto. Just take the over. Just take the over. I mean, just do it. Just take the over. It's gonna go over. Yeah, it's gonna go over. These teams are just giving up way too many points. Like you said, they're playing deep. The problem with teams like this is they're also getting burned on these deep routes anyway. I mean, it's just like doesn't matter if they're playing deep. They're not preventing the Peyton Manning story. They're not. They're getting burned by the wide receivers. But anyway, third game. Did you watch this one? Did you watch this one in toto?
I caught as much of it as I could, given it was a random Saturday. So
Yep.
Mid-afternoon is a little bit harder to get a full game in for me, but I got enough.
So Toronto Argonauts 31, Edmonton Elks 30 again. The Argos, pull it off in the final seconds. Oh my God, they're going to do this all the way to the Grey Cup, aren't they? I guess as long as they beat Saskatchewan in the Grey Cup game, I'm okay with it. But I could just see Argos. What? Argos Calgary? Calgary favored by what? 8,
10.
8.5, 10. Lose by like 17. Where is it? It's in Winnipeg this year, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why they ran it back one more time.
Wow. It could be cold. Okay. So I just wanted to say this. This was my main note from this game. I have a message for gamblers. Okay. There are times when the point spread is your friend. Yes, you usually only get, taking the underdog plus the points, you usually only get minus 110. But given that the Elks are getting, 3.5, okay, and they're playing the Argonauts, they're playing in Toronto, doesn't mean a whole lot, but you can give them half a point, 1.5 points for that. You take the points. Yes, that line is tempting, but take the points. This is exactly the kind of game that a 3.5 point underdogs like the Elks, even though they're hot, they're still a 3.5 point underdog, right? Loses. This is exactly the reason why the Elks won't make the playoffs this year. That and the fact that they threw away 5 or 6 games at the beginning of the season. To be fair. But if they do not make the playoffs next year, or if they finish the season 8-10 or so, with the same deck that they've got stacked, this is going to be the reason why. It's because they lose games like this. I mean, who came in? Who was the quarterback? Daggy.
Jarrett Daggy.
Daggy. That's it. He had something like 35 yards passing, took over, got them into field goal position, and won.
Did what he had to.
The Argos lost the turnovers 5-1. What? Excellent game, excellent passing game by the Elks. But I'm wondering, is this team really so dependent on Justin Rankin?
That could very well be, because Toronto found a way to silence him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He was nowhere. Just 35 total yards. After his career days set up, 50, 60% of fantasy players to put him in there this week. I guess that was a burn. Did you have Rankin this week, Joe?
I did not.
Good man. Good call.
I went. Gosh, who did I have? I don't even remember who I had as my primary, but my second guy for cheap dollars was Spencer Brown, which didn't get me a lot of points, but I also only spent a tiny bit on him,
right?
Or no, wait, nope. Brown's been going up in money now, so I went Travis Tice in Montreal.
Oh.
For 2.5, and he got some points, so I could stack the rest of my lineup, and I won by 30, so no complaints.
Oh, great. Good on you. Yeah.
Stacked heavily on BC for some reason.
Sorry, say it again.
I stacked heavily on BC for some reason.
Well, because they're going to score a lot of points.
Huh?
I bet you didn't have BC defense.
I didn't. I had Hamilton defense.
Oh, wow. Really?
Because I knew it was coming in the Winnipeg game, right?
Wow.
A couple of bad turnovers and not a whole lot of points put up, right?
Did you pick Hamilton last week?
Oh, yeah.
You did?
Not even a question.
God, you're so pragmatic, Joe.
And I won't even question it until, and I'll be happy if I'm wrong, but I won't question it until we have a quarterback that can push the ball down the field.
Okay.
And I don't think either Strevler or Wilson's going to be able to do that. So it's Zach or bust. And if it's bust, it's bust. It's just what it is.
Right. Okay. Okay. So, of course, the worst thing about this, from a certain perspective, was that this is what gave the Riders uh, clinch for the playoff spot. Riders will be in the playoffs this year.
That
Um,
was pretty apparent. So I'm not
well,
even
yeah,
didn't even know we had playoff scenarios to deal with yet. It's that early.
they were cruising. They were cruising. But you know what? Since we got onto that, before I talk about and wait, Joe, is this correct? This is what I have. Montreal Alouettes 48, Saskatchewan Roughriders 32.
Uh huh.
Is that correct? Is
Yeah,
that
and
correct?
that score
Tyson
or
Philpott?
31, and that score flatters the Riders. Honestly,
Not defensively. And Tyson Philpott, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns,
Philpott just decided to go off. So
almost 36 fantasy points.
mhm.
That's 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 not bad. And in fact, he would have gotten 300 probably if that long pass hadn't been called back. He got one called back too. He
Just
laid out
one of those inexplicable games where an
Oh my
otherwise
god.
good defense just doesn't have an answer for an opposing team's attack
Well,
and
I
an
mean, look,
outstanding superstar player, right?
they talked about this on the defense, and I tell you what, I feel bad for Kerfala Exume. He's starting his first game, I believe his first game in the CFL, first game this year.
Yeah, because he
He's
was a special
starting.
teamer in Winnipeg, and I'm pretty good
Yeah,
with that.
and they were just picking on him all day. I mean, not the play-by-play guys. I mean, Tyson Philpott and a
Yeah,
couple
I
others. They were
suppose
just
yes, the Riders did have the corner injuries at the same time, so that's never going to go
right.
well.
That was the thing. That was the thing. Is that and they kept this was the pregame show, this was the halftime show. It's like, look, they're playing with that backfield, defensive backfield, so I can't take this too seriously. However, this is the beginning of the tarnishing of what looked like, the Riders' team of destiny. The Riders are going to go all the way. They're cruising. This is the first chink in the armor, and it's only going to get worse from here. Okay. Like we talked about last week, they go 500 the rest of the way. That's what? That's 13-5 season.
Yeah,
Okay, really good season, right? But the truth is, you're entering the playoffs on a 3-3 run, on a 2-4 run, or whatever. And I can tell you from experience, just last year, that's not the way you want to go into the playoffs, even if you have the better team. So much of sports, especially the longer your schedule is about getting hot. In this case, in November, you know. And you can't really say that the Riders are going to back into the playoffs, but they're kind of like, I don't know, at a standstill going into the playoffs. Then they're going to get that 2-week bye, who knows what that's going to do to them. So this game in particular might be the first indication that, well, let's just not give the Riders the cup yet.
no,
Or even the West.
but on the other hand, too, they are a lot better coached than they have been over the past few years.
Oh,
right?
yes.
So if any team is going to be able to get over said issue, it could be them.
Yeah, they did not lose this. They did not lose this game necessarily because of coaching.
No, I'm just thinking, hey, they got in a spot of trouble last year too, and when they did that, usually that meant their season was over because they just crumble, right?
Right.
And Corey Mace found a way to go, okay, we're in a tough spot. This is my first year as a head coach, but I've done this a while. And they found a way to piece it back together and become competitive until the later end of the season after they had like a month where they were just not doing anything right. I could see him be able to pull that together too if they do what you just described, right? I could see them rallying up for the West Final, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they have the coaching. They have the coaching to be able to overcome if they hit a rough spot over the next little while. It
Right.
doesn't
Well,
necessarily mean they will
mhm.
either hit the rough spot or come over it if they do. But I like their odds a lot better than I would have a couple years ago, right?
Okay. Okay. All right. How do you like the odds of the Owls and the Argos right now? I like their
The
odds.
East is wide open. I mean, Hamilton is new to this, being the front runner. It's been a while.
Well, Bo is not.
Bo is not,
Bo is not.
and they do have some veteran talent.
Mhm.
But as a whole, as a group, it's going to have been a while, and there's going to be a
Yeah.
lot of pressure, especially if they're hosting the East Final. That's going to be a whole lot of pressure, right? And especially if you come in, if like Toronto, say, finishes 8-10, and or even 7-11, and makes the playoffs as a third because the West collapses, right? Like, what do they have to lose,
Wow.
right?
Wow.
Or a Montreal team that just hit a, you guys hit your swoon, right? Because you were missing a quarterback for a month.
Yeah, let's hope so.
What do you
Let's
have
hope
to
so.
lose? You get Davis Alexander back, maybe, right?
I mean, Philpott was out for all those games too.
Right.
You know,
But if
Philpott.
all the pressure's on Hamilton against a lesser opponent record wise that has, that had to scratch and claw the whole season just to make the playoffs, like all the pressure's going to be on Hamilton, right?
Mhm, mhm,
And I
mhm,
don't
mhm.
like those odds because remember when Milanovic was winning Grey Cups, he was on the other side. They were finishing 9-9 and then just going through the playoffs like a hot knife through butter. So
Oh, I do. I would not.
I'd
I don't
worry
want to
more
be.
about Hamilton in an East final scenario, especially the lower their opponent finished, than I would be about Saskatchewan in the same scenario, right?
Mhm. The only, I mean, I would not want to see Toronto
No,
8-10, 9-9 coming down the bike. Not again.
no,
Oh no, not again. Not this.
because that's how they
Um,
do it too. The problem I have with Toronto right now is Nick Arbuckle going to be healthy?
yes,
Is Chad Kelly ever going to be healthy this
right.
year?
And if they throw in Chad Kelly, is that
Does he?
tantamount to what happened in BC when they threw Nathan Rourke back in there? You
Right.
know,
Does it, is
I
it
mean,
is it a volatile mix or what have
uh-huh.
you?
Right. Well,
Well,
things were going well. Things
right.
were going well. I mean, Vernon is maybe not the better quarterback, although this year certainly has been. Vernon is maybe not the better quarterback, but he had something. The game plan was planned around them. It's the
Mhm.
same thing you saw this with Montreal is going to be the textbook picture of this some year because man, they looked so good in those games with Davis Alexander because the game was planned around Davis Alexander and his very smart but somewhat limited physical skills. But they were maximizing his pluses
Yeah.
in that
It's just
offense, and it's just not built for these other guys.
no. It's so
You
crazy
know?
to see just how often it all comes down to whose quarterback is healthy right now.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. it's. I mean, this is the corollary to second string quarterbacks matter. Second string quarterbacks are key in the CFL, and they're becoming that way in the NFL too. By the way, now they're on 17-game schedule. I mean, again, this is another thing that Americans could stand to learn from the CFL. Some teams are going with, by the way, a fourth down quarterback. Have you seen this? There's been a couple of these this year already.
Hmm.
Running the play with that fourth down quarterback trying to pick up 1 yard. Awesome. Awesome. Love to see that. Although it's a bit more challenging in the NFL, that's for sure, to get the 1 yard. Um, I also wanted to give kudos to an offensive lineman getting a touchdown for the Owls. All right. I guess what I'd like to see is can we get this rain every week? Can
Right.
we get I mean, we're undefeated in torrential downpours so far this season. So let's have that. Also, yeah, I should give props to Stevie Scott. Stevie
Yeah, he
Scott
is.
the third in the box score. So Stevie Scott, the first 100-yard rusher we've had this season. And I feel like this was one of those strange cases where there was a halfback where the opposing team didn't have game tape. This often works for the quarterback coming into the game or like surprise substitution, but rarely for the halfback. But yeah, our first runner for 100 yards this season. Way to go, Stevie Scott. And he was excellent in the fourth quarter, killing clock and still getting breakaways on the Riders defense. Riders defense has been excellent against the run these past 2 years. But wow, unheralded Stevie Scott.
Not even available in fantasy this week.
Really?
Really?
Wow. No joke. Wow, you lost a lot between him and the offensive lineman. You missed a lot of fantasy points from the house this week.
This helped
Everybody.
nobody.
Although you got a lot. I mean, 48 points. So, I mean, if anybody had Philpott, did you have Philpott, Joe?
No, I didn't have Philpott.
And you still won by 30. Nice. I guess your opponent didn't either.
No.
I mean, again, he had like 35 fantasy points. Jesus. Okay, so let's see. Can we look at some of these schedules? The actual we don't really have any playoff scenarios because I don't think there are any this week.
Yeah, it's too early for them to have released them officially. But just even with a glance, nobody's going to be able to be eliminated. Even if Ottawa loses, goes to 4-10, Montreal and Toronto both win, which is impossible anyway. Like they can't be eliminated. Like the worst team in the league is 4-9. The best team in the league is 10-3, and they're in. The next best team is 8-4, and they can't clinch.
8-4, yeah.
8-4, yeah, because even if they win, Winnipeg and BC lose, they both have 8. So their crossover, they could clinch not being crossed over on. Calgary could, in theory. But like that's about it. Like that's about it. Because Hamilton wins their 9th game, Winnipeg and BC both drop theirs. They're at 8, right? Like there's a world out there where all the math falls. I don't know if Winnipeg and BC play; they don't play again, so they can.
No, they do not.
They could both catch a free falling Hamilton if that happens, right? Like the logic says these things aren't going to happen, but the math says, I mean,
right, mathematically,
you're saying there's a chance, right?
And this is the exact chance, 0.3%.
Pretty much, right?
They have the playoff tracker. Right, they have the playoff tracker, and last I saw, Calgary was at like 98%. So I think they virtually got it clinched. It's just, what if there's 3 ties and but
yeah, and all that usually comes out tomorrow, right?
Well, tomorrow because we're recording this, on Sunday the 14th. Both our times. We're doing this on the same day, Joe. Weird.
Yes. Time zones are fun.
Let's see. So there's nothing. These races are 2 games. I mean, Montreal is 2 games back of Hamilton, and Calgary is only 2.5 ahead of Winnipeg and BC in American speak, because Calgary has played 1 fewer game than most teams in the league. In fact, all teams in the league, right?
All teams in the league have played 13, 12. Except for Calgary. Like, I think last week we were all even for like the one time this season it will be all even besides week 1, right?
Because it's an odd week. Yeah.
Right.
Because it's an odd number week. You can have that happen. So does this means that Calgary gets no more buys?
They're done. This was their last buy.
Okay.
And everybody else is going to have one.
Wow.
At some point, week 18, 3 teams are going to have it. Otherwise, there's 1 team left for each of the rest of the weeks.
Okay. So things staying the way they are, in theory, Calgary would clinch in like week 18. Right?
Probably. And logically, yeah.
Right. So I mean, again, if things stay exactly the same, if this 2.5 game lead holds, they would go until the second to last, because they've already got all the tiebreakers with Winnipeg and BC. Right? They've beaten everybody. in the West, right? They're 6-1. Who did they lose to? Did they lose to Winnipeg?
No, didn't Edmonton get him 2 weeks
Oh,
ago? Yep,
I think you're right. Yep,
Edmonton
yep,
got
that's
him on
right.
the rematch game. Yep.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's right. Okay. Right. So yeah, so they've got all the tiebreakers with Winnipeg and BC. So yeah, that's a healthy 2.5 game lead they've got right now on those two teams. So but yeah, the point is no clinch, not even. I mean, could Ottawa be eliminated? Let's see. Ottawa goes to 4-10 versus 9-5. That would be 5 games with yeah. Okay, so there you go. Ottawa could be eliminated this week.
From winning the division. Playoffs
Yes.
still
Yes.
in play.
Oh, of course. Yeah, they're still
Unlikely,
alive.
but in play.
Well, I mean, look, mathematically, dude, they're a game behind Toronto. And don't they have a match? Don't they play once more?
Oh, let's see. Well, they get Winnipeg this week, and then a bye. Then Saskatchewan.
Right.
Then at Montreal, hosting Montreal.
Wow.
At
I
Hamilton.
guess not.
So they're done with that too.
I guess not. Yeah. So they're not done with. They are done with Toronto. Okay.
And their
Yeah.
schedule up ahead looks pretty rough,
Yeah.
assuming Montreal has Davis Alexander back by then, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
even without it, to be fair.
Even if we don't, I mean, this game proved that we can score 48 against a lame secondary. So
right.
I mean, Tyson Philpott could go for 200 against Ottawa this year. It really doesn't. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say it doesn't matter who's the quarterback, but there are some possibilities at quarterback. What I'm concerned about, Joe, is next week.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about next week's games. I could not get the lines in time, but we start with, wow, a real backbreaker here for Montreal, potentially. Montreal at Toronto. And I'm going to guess, we don't have the lines, but I'm going to guess the book has this at 3, maybe 4, +4, +3 for Montreal, maybe. But, jeez. Okay, Joe, again, Montreal can rip up a bad secondary. Okay. If McLeod Bethel Thompson can string 2 good games together, which he hasn't done this year. He's been the starter. He's had a couple of good games this year. That's it. I mean, Toronto, pretty freaking high, scoring 30, 40 points a game these past 3 weeks. I don't know, Joe. Do I have any optimism here?
Yeah, I'll tell you why you have optimism.
Okay.
First of all, Toronto's given up the most points in the league by far.
Yes.
So you've got your lame secondary.
Yeah.
I mean, you're worried about Bethel Thompson having a, crash game, right? That's always on the table at this point, right? But who's Toronto's starting quarterback next week? It's too early to know if Nick Arbuckle's not going to be able to play, right? So that's the hard part. So not knowing that means I'm taking Montreal until I hear otherwise.
Okay. Interesting tactic.
If we find out Nick Arbuckle's fine, it was just something that knocked him out for the day and not for a week or two. Or if we find out Chad Kelly's ready to go, even then he's probably rusty, what have you.
I don't know.
But if I have one of those two there, then I have to seriously think about Toronto. But until I know one of those two is starting, I'm picking Montreal and not even worrying about it.
Okay, it's not very scientific, but Arbuckle has been on this crazy run until this game. Okay, what is it? Okay, so he's had 6 games of 300 yards or more. Okay, I even remembered this. He's had 6 games of 300 or more yards in a row. Okay, they've gone 5-1 in those games, and he threw for 14 TDs against 2 interceptions in those games. Okay, that's a hell of a run. This game, he threw the 4 picks before getting knocked out and before losing the turnover battle for Toronto 5-1. Okay, now I'm wondering if this is enough to derail that hot streak. I mean, come on.
Could.
This guy was an underdog in the Grey Cup. This guy was an underdog, I think, in week 1 of this season. I mean, it's just like, I mean, maybe he has been playing over his head.
Yeah, and maybe that run was coming to an end anyway. But
Yeah.
my point with making the pick of Montreal and not worrying about it until I hear is that I'm not going to trust a quarterback I don't know.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So,
But you will trust a quarterback that you do know. But you do know McLeod Bethel Thompson, who presumably is the starter.
sure. You
Or
also
James
have a couple of backups that have proven capable of winning a CFL game too, right? If
in
McLeod,
Montreal. In Montreal.
not in Montreal yet, but like Cameron Dukes has played, Shea Patterson has played.
Wow.
I mean, we've seen James Morgan; it hasn't worked out yet, but
Shea Patterson did his bit this week. Shea
Mhm.
Patterson did exactly what he should be doing. That short yardage play for the touchdown. 2 TDs,
Right.
and he enjoyed it. He
Mhm.
enjoyed it. It's like,
And if
remember when he's
and
Saskatchewan.
that's more of a track record than I have on Jared Dagey. So, and it could
Well,
be
that's
that Jared Dagey comes in, like if he ends up being the starter next week, and just lighting the place up. That's on the table, but I don't find it
uh,
incredibly likely either.
yeah, you're talking about third stringer in Toronto. I
Right.
don't know. I don't know about that. Third stringer in Toronto. You could have had third stringer in Toronto versus what, fifth stringer in Montreal.
Yeah,
We
this is
might have.
yeah, we're only a couple weeks we're only a week or two away from that, right?
Yeah. we might go into number 6. And Toronto has the rights to Shadur Sanders. Maybe they should bring him over.
I mean, he'll be available soon.
Oh
So,
yes, he will. Bring him over, man. Why not throw in another head case? Why not? Hey, and the crazy thing would be, they would bring in Sanders. They would finish. They would back into the playoffs at like 8-10 and win the Grey Cup with friggin' Shadur Sanders. They would. They brought him.
no,
You
that's
just
next year.
know.
That's next year's path, right?
Great, fantastic. Montreal brings in Johnny Manziel, goes like 1-3. They bring in Shadur, they win the Grey Cup. You know that would happen. Okay. So let's see. All right. I'll take Montreal as well. I'll take Montreal no matter what, because I'm going to zag on this one. In fact, I'll probably even play this one at the book. I think this one's going to go under because of the quarterback uncertainty. Maybe Nick Arbuckle's got a little bit of the yips going on this week. Maybe McLeod Bethel Thompson can't string 2 in a row. So I think this game is going to go under, and I think that benefits Montreal. So I'm taking that. And I don't think there's going to be any inclement weather either, unfortunately.
Well,
But that's just
we're 5 days out. That could change.
Yeah. Oh, of course. Of course. That's just enough for it to be completely unexpected. So says chaos theory. In any case, all right. Second one, also a pretty big deal. BC Lions at Calgary Stampeders coming out of the bye. Yeah, Stamps are on bye this week. Yeah. Stamps are on bye. That's why everybody scored so many points. Stamps are on bye week. I have to say that I think BC looked really good against Ottawa. Okay. I think Calgary is going to shut them down. I think this is another one where you might take the under. Honestly, I'm going to go Calgary. I think they're going to be ready. Teams have not done especially well coming out of the bye this year, but I have faith in Mr. Dickinson, and I think that, I think Calgary is going to shut them down. I think Calgary is going to win by a lot because, in the end, I don't think BC is a great team. I think they have a great quarterback. They have some great pass catchers, and that's it. So I'm going Calgary.
Me too. BC is just not a complete team, and Calgary is.
Yeah. I I'm kind of hoping. I mean, I'm sorry for you, and it's not like Calgary is my favorite team, but I'm kind of hoping that the Stamps are just as good now as they were before the bye week, um, because they look really good. That's some good football. A lot of people think it's boring, but I really like the precision. I really like this is when this team is on, they look like the best coach team in the league. Yes, Saskatchewan has seen some awesome flip with Corey in there as the as head coach. But wow, I mean, Calgary is just a machine. Like they had been in the past. Like they had been in the past, just a machine. Nothing too flashy, just like winning ball games decisively. So I kind of hope that that juggernaut is back. Um, all right, so here we go. Can the okay? Now I'm sure you're going to tell me that this is a game where you're going to wait for the starting quarterback. Winnipeg at Ottawa.
Oh, entirely.
Okay.
Drew Brown dressed last week and didn't
Okay.
play.
Okay.
So that means he's close to being back if he's not completely back.
Okay.
So I'm thinking he's probably the starter. I have no indication if Winnipeg's going to have anybody but Streveler. And when they have Streveler, they need to have a great game on defense, and they need to move the ball consistently and not screw up. It's a tall ask. So, given that those are the variables in play at the time we record, I'm taking Ottawa and not even questioning it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Talk to me on Wednesday if I see Zach Claris is practicing or if I see Drew Brown is out. Other than that, I don't see any reason to budge.
Wow. Okay. Okay. All right. Wow. That would. Oh my God. Okay. So you've got Ottawa winning and Toronto. Oh, you're waiting and see. So far you have Toronto losing and Ottawa winning.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That would put them both at 5-9. And then,
Because we've
yeah.
seen over the past couple of weeks that Drew Crum or Dustin Crum is at least capable of pushing the ball down the field once in a while,
Uh,
which is more than I can say for Winnipeg.
uh,
Which I think is worth a touchdown difference if that ends up being the quarterback matchup, Crum and Strebler.
okay. Okay. But look, I feel like because again, I don't really care. You talked about the Ottawa quarterback situation, but we've seen other quarterbacks pilot this team this year, and they're just not doing anything in the first quarter. Can Winnipeg put up points in the first quarter with Streveler? They can score in the opening drive, can't they?
They could score. That's usually what they do is they'll score like 7 or 10 in the first, and then take like a two
Right.
quarter nap. Right?
Right. Now, BC, the secondary of BC, I mean, they're not good. Winnipeg is marginally better, aren't they?
I think Winnipeg's defense is far better than BC's.
Well, there you go. There you go. Winnipeg can win this thing. All they have to do is get out to what, 10-0 first quarter lead. They'll win. They'll win. They're not going to let Ottawa come back on them, are they?
Yeah,
I mean,
that's a
so
lot of time to defend a 10-point lead when your offense
well,
isn't
yeah,
when your
yeah.
offense isn't cooperating with you, right?
Well, yeah. Okay, okay, okay. And that's the thing is Ottawa does score a lot of points in the second half. They really do.
They seem to they seem to turn it on in the fourth quarter.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, but you've said it before too, dude. There are games where in the fourth quarter the other team's playing prevent, and so
And longer
yeah,
than they should, like BC a
yeah.
couple weeks ago, right?
Well, again, that was really an anomaly. For some reason they couldn't tackle Dustin Crum. Dustin Crum looked like what? He looked like Josh Allen out there against BC. The
Yeah.
tape on that
I
is
mean, unless
ridiculous.
the starting quarterback matchup's going to be Zach and Drew Brown, take the under.
Okay. Yeah, I'm looking after last week's point explosion. I'm looking at under so far. At least BC under, I think. I don't think BC is going to score 30 points this week. In fact, they might have 4 or 5 turnovers. Okay, so t- take a flyer on Calgary defense in fantasy. They might actually get a lot of points.
I might if they're not worth 10K, right?
Right. Montreal defense. That might be a good play too. Okay, so Hamilton might be a good play. All right, let's take a look here because I feel like Hamilton's been handed a few games lately versus Edmonton, who's always plugging away in this game. Well, Montreal rolled over for them in week 14, 26-9. Let's see. Oh, yes. And then Toronto, 35-33. Let's see. And then Hamilton, they had the bye, and then they went 29-9, losing to Saskatchewan. So hard to get a bead on this Hamilton team playing the last place team in the West. I don't know. What they've been consistently in these games or winning these games since Cody Fajardo's been the quarterback. Is this maybe when Hamilton is given a challenge again?
It'll be a game.
Oh, you think so? Okay.
I don't think that Edmonton's got enough juice to win this though.
Wow, again?
Again, Hamilton's playing well.
Poor Edmonton.
Yeah. And Edmonton, if it's in Edmonton, I might have a different thought and feel a little bit less confident. But Hamilton's got things going right now. They're playing well. They're not making mistakes. Edmonton would be in a better shape if they were playing a team that was a little bit more up and down, like BC, say, where they can put up a ton but make a bunch of mistakes and could pull anybody into the game. But I think Hamilton's starting to figuring out how to win again, right? So on the road against a team that's starting to come together like that, that's a hard ask.
Okay, so you have potentially Hamilton winning, Ottawa winning, and I guess it doesn't matter, Montreal or Toronto winning.
Montreal.
Right? So, wow, the East is getting interesting, Joe. I thought this thing was going to be a write-off again this year, but wow, things are getting interesting. Again, 3 East teams win 2 weeks in a row. Wow.
And then the crossover is no longer inevitable.
Oh, yeah. Well, if BC loses, man, this is a surprisingly big game. It's surprising how many of these games have been important to BC because they lost so damn many at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, I've got BC, Winnipeg, and Edmonton all losing.
Yeah. BC is already playing for their playoff lives when they're playing games. 2 weeks ago they had Ottawa. That was kind of an important game, but 3 weeks ago they had the last game they played against the East was Toronto. Yeah, they lost that game by a point, and that cost them. Toronto moved up on the crossover possibility with them. They lose another one, and then all of a sudden Toronto owns the crossover again.
Yep.
So pretty wild stuff. Wow. I guess don't leave the East for dead. It's a long season in the CFL. And we're going into the home stretch. Things are still happening. Nobody's going to clinch this week. Nobody's going to clinch anything this week. Well, I won't go there. But anyway, all right. Well, anything else? Any famous last words, Joe?
Nope. Show? We got about 6 weeks left. That could you could tell me anybody's in the playoffs and anybody's out right now besides Saskatchewan because they obviously have clinched, and I wouldn't be that shocked.
Really, I would be pretty shocked if Ottawa made it at this
point. Calgary and Hamilton missing would be a bit of a shocker, but I like anything else.
Like Ottawa making it and Edmonton making it.
The bottom 3 playoff spots are going to be nuts. So let's go have some fun.
Yeah. This East is up for grabs. Boy, what I wouldn't give for Hamilton to drop a couple of games. Oh my God, that would be.
Yeah, but that's what you always say.
I know. Well, yeah. Yeah, even if they're 3-8, boy, it would be great to see them drop a couple more games. Well, it's just I got so used to having to look either over my shoulder or looking behind at Hamilton. I got PTSD. I got PTSD. You know, they haven't been a threat for a couple of years now, but I'm still like constantly looking over my shoulder. And I guess this all goes back to me changing my mind and putting them in fourth place this year in the East as a prediction. I guess my karma's at fault here. But there's always the playoffs.
Yeah, it's too bad our prediction show got erased off the internet.
Did it?
Or at least that's what I tell myself. It was that bad.
Oh, nobody goes back and listens. Was it that bad? Yes, because you had Calgary out of the playoffs.
I had Calgary in last. I had Saskatchewan winning the West though, and Toronto winning the East. So
Toronto, yeah.
Okay,
well, that's
it was bad, but I don't think it's. Looking at it all now, it's like I don't think anybody's knows anything this year. So,
well, our colleague at the Shotgun Sports Network picked Calgary to win the West, but he's a little bit biased. Being the host of what is that? The Herd?
No, the Stampeders Roundup. The Herd is Edmonton.
The Roundup. That's right. Yeah. That's right. The Roundup. Yeah. Our friend there, he had Calgary number 1 in the West. I'm not sure why he picked that. But I picked Montreal first in the East, to be honest. All right. So let's get out of here. Enough of this speculation. Let's watch the games next week. Enjoy the games. For my co-host, Joe Pritchard, I'm Oz Davis. This has been the Rouge, White, and Blue CFL podcast. Have a great week.